Hey guys, and welcome back to Cole's Creations. Thank you for visiting my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to walk through how I make these types of links for bracelets, necklaces, or anything else you might need them for. One is going to be all metal, the other is going to have a bead, and then the third will have a bead that has a little swoop in the center. So please stay tuned on how I make this and enjoy.
First, to start off, let's get our supplies. Flush cutters, I have two different types. Step down pliers, and two other pairs of pliers. For most of these, I like to use 20 gauge. I have copper and brass. The brass is a little more difficult to work with. It's a little stiffer, but I think it makes a pretty secure bracelet. And I feel like it's pretty strong. The copper is softer to work with.
For this demonstration, we'll be using copper wire.
You'll also need a ruler. For this, I like to measure out about 4.5 inches of wire. We'll go ahead and cut those. And now, I'll just use that as a guide. A size 8mm bead, it's usually about 7. That will get you about a 7-inch bracelet. They say women's about 7, men's about 8. This is a little over 7. I think this is a good size. So I'll go ahead and start off with how to make this bead first. Now we already cut our wire to the length we need, which is 4.5 inches. I'm going to go ahead and cut a few more pieces of that. So I went ahead and cut my pieces of wire. I usually cut around 7 pieces for a bracelet. And I'm going to go ahead and straighten the wire out. I forgot to mention that you're going to need some beads. So I'll be using these glass beads to make this bracelet in this style. Put those off to the side. We're going to get out our ruler again and go ahead, line these wires up, and we're going to get a permanent marker out and put these here, and we're going to mark on all these wires approximately 1.5 inches. Now this is permanent marker, so it comes off easily when you work with it over time. It also comes off when you polish it. So now where your mark is on your wire, mine's right here, we're going to take a pair of our pliers and we're just going to go ahead and bend this straight backwards, like so. To straighten this out a little more, I'm just going to give it a few taps with a regular pair of pliers to straighten out this wire. I don't want to do this too much because I don't want to work hard in the piece yet. Now we're going to take our step down pliers and we're going to use this second biggest one right here. We're going to place it here, and then we're going to fold this wire over until we get to this point. Then we're going to turn and fold the wire the rest of the way, creating a loop right at the top. Now we are going to take this little wire and wrap it around about 3 times. Now with the copper, it is pretty easy to do by hand if you're using dead soft. You just want to make sure it's snug on there, nice and tight. You can also use your pliers to work it around. like that as well. And we are about 3 times, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off this little excess at the end here. I like to put my finger over the top to catch that little piece so it doesn't go flying off. And then what we'll do is we'll take our wire and close that in by squeezing and pushing that little end into or down onto the base wire, or what I'm calling the base wire, which is this part. You just want to make sure you don't really feel it and it doesn't pinch you. We're going to go ahead and take our bead and put it right through onto the wire, just like that. Now, with our bead on our wire, we're going to go up a few millimeters from the bead and pinch. Now we're going to make sure that we line the way this wire bends back to line up with this loop that we made. So just bend it straight back. Again, the second biggest one from the step down pliers. Bring it over. Just like that. Now what we're going to do is wrap this about 4 times. Now with this first loop, I like to make sure that they get nice and tight. And that it's snug onto the loop. Perfect. 2 more wraps. All right, so we're at 4. Now, we're going to take this wire that we have left and we're going to swoop it around the bead. Creating a nice swirl shape. And we're going to go ahead and hook it around that original 3-wire wrap. Take pliers, pinch that, just like that, and we're going to cut it off pretty close, about right here. Again, grabbing that little excess wire so it doesn't fly off. Move that off to the side. And then we're going to pinch this closed, trying to keep a nice round shape in. Just like that. So now we have our bead wrapped with these little loops going the same direction. And that's how you make that. We're going to make another link, just like we did the first time. So I'll run through it again. But this time we're going to connect it to the other link, which can be done before or after you add the bead. So, same thing. We find that little mark we made right there. Bend this wire straight back. I'm just trying to straighten out this wire a little bit more. Take the second step on the step pliers, make a loop, and try to get this length of wire right in the middle of that loop there. Take the pliers, form the little there we go, attach it right there, making sure it's nice and tight, and we do 3 of those loops. Perfect. Take your flush cutters, pinch off the end, grabbing that piece so it doesn't fly off. And then tuck this end right down the bottom of those wraps so you don't feel a pinch. Perfect. Slide your bead on, keeping this in line with the loop a few centimeters up from the bead. Bend back. Second step on the step pliers. Bend around. Just like that. Now we're going to go ahead and attach the first one we made. Right on that one. Now with that attached, we'll go ahead and finish it off just like we did with the previous bead. We wrap this around, making sure that it is a nice tight loop and it is snug to the loop right up top. You go around that 4 times. Just like that. Take this wire, swoop it around. Perfect. Use our pliers to pinch it. Cut off the excess by holding the pliers pretty close. Pinching. And just snug that loop around that base wire. Making sure it looks clean and the wires are straight. And that's the start of the bracelet. Now I'll show you how to make the other ones as well. To make this type of link, we're going to go ahead and use that same amount of wire, so the 4.5 inches. We're going to actually put it a little below the 1.5 inch mark we made, but the way we start this one off is we take our step pliers, still using that second step, and we wrap it around all the way, creating a nice tight loop. This longest wire, we're going to pinch slightly off center. That way, we can bend that wire up, and it's right in the center. We're going to go ahead and start wrapping the smaller wire around the longer wire, making sure that it is a nice tight wrap. Now this part varies on how big you want this part of this link to be. I like it a little smaller, but you can have it bigger. You would just need to adjust your wire lengths. So I'm going to wrap it around 5 times, making sure those loops stay nice and tight. So that's 4. I need 1 more wrap. Perfect. Cut the excess by putting it close to the base wire, pinching that wire. And folding it in. Now for this one, instead of grabbing with your pliers on this base wire, I'm actually gonna grab around the wraps we just made, again keeping this the same direction, folding this over, step pliers, wrapping around, and I like to make sure that this is nice and close to the wrap. Hold your pliers around. Now we're just going to wrap around those coils we just made with the remainder of this wire or close to it. You might have excess or you might have a little less, and that's okay. And I use my pliers at the end, get that wire right in here. Pinching everything tight. And that's how you make that. Let's go ahead and make a second one. And then I'll take that second one and also attach it to this one. Straightening out the wires. Straightening out those wires. Step pliers. Grab right below that. So bring it around, loop it around. Creating a nice loop. Just like that. Using chain nose pliers, grab here, right off to the center. That way when you bend the wire up straight, it's right in the center. This takes practice to kind of get a good eye for that. Don't worry if you have not done that yet and you can't get it off. You will eventually be able to eyeball it. Now, you can, like I did with this one, create this first loop and attach it at the end. Or you can attach it at the beginning. Like that. Either way works. I feel like when you do it this way, it's just a little more cumbersome, but if you're more comfortable attaching it this way first, that is absolutely fine, because there have been plenty of times where I forgot to attach it at all and made a separate one and then just had to keep that for something for later. Now we wrap 5 times around here. When you start getting to the end, it does get a little harder to turn, so you can take your pliers and just rotate it around. Cut the excess. Here, pinch. And just tuck that wire coil, or the end of that coil, into this wire. Making sure that this is in line, we're going to grab the coils, bend down. Now see how I'm a little off? You can just go ahead and take this and twist it, just so it's in line. The second step on your step pliers, wrap it around there. Creating another loop. Straighten those wires, just like that. Hold with your pliers, and just wrap, or coil, I should say, around the original coil you had. And again, you might run out, you might have a little extra. As long as you don't run out within like the first 1 or 2 wraps, it's okay. I think it still looks just fine. Tucking that in, and that's how you make those. Now let me go ahead and show you the third style. For the third style, we are still going to use this same amount of wire, the 4.5 inches. And I'm going to use a different bead. I'm going to go ahead and use Sunstone. Really pretty, kind of fancy bead. We'll start off this very similar to how we made this, except we're excluding that wrap. So we go ahead and bend this back right here at that mark we made at the 1.5 inches. Using the step pliers, the second step. Just like that. Wrap or coil the remaining wire, the little wire, around this long base wire. And just again, making sure it is nice and tight around that base wire as we coil. Three times around that bead, or as we coil 3 times around that base wire. Now this is pretty close, so I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to tuck that in there. We'll go ahead and stick our bead on. And we're now adding that loop around this, so again, making sure this is in line. Bending this back. You take the second step and make that loop. And we're going to go ahead and coil this around as well. Now I have accidentally made one wrap, made this part too long and either got 4 wraps on there. I don't think that looks terrible. If it's very uneven, you might want to try again, just so it looks a little more uniform. But if you have an extra wrap, I don't think that's going to make a significant difference. Plus remember, this is art. Art is subjective. So just make sure overall you're having fun. I did bend the wires a little bit, straighten that back out. Pinch that so it is nice and tight. These are going the same way. Hold right here. Cut that off. Now there is a little bit of excess, so you can always make it 4 inches instead of 4.5, or 4 1/4 if you want a little bit excess. For this demonstration, we just have a little excess because it's easier to keep that all the same length. And we're just going to tuck this wire in, making sure this stays in line and you don't feel that end, just like that. Let's go ahead and make a second one to show you how to attach it. Taking that length of wire, 4.5, make it straight. At that 1.5 inch mark, bend this back. Take the second step and create a loop. Now I'm going to go ahead and attach it first, so I don't forget to attach it later. Wrap this around 3 times, making sure that that is a nice coil around that wire. Nice and tight, so it does not come loose. That's 2. And 3. I like to make sure it's 3 on both sides. So it is. We pinch, cut the excess off. I'm going to tuck this in nice and tight so you don't feel it and it won't scratch the skin. Take our second bead. that on. Pinch a little ways above that bead, just to give you some space. Now see, I was not paying attention, so I didn't make it follow the same direction. I'm going to grab that bend and just twist. And that way now it's going the same direction. Second step, go over. And create that loop. And let's go ahead and close that up. Now, make sure that the loop is nice and tight. So let me go ahead and pinch this down a little bit. And continue the coiling around, making sure that it is tight. Just like so. Perfect. Make sure this is in line. We're going to cut the excess off. And we're going to snug that in just like that. So that is how you make 3 different types of links. For bracelets, for necklaces, any other project you need links for.
Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments.